Oh, welcome to this conversation. We have big state elections coming up, right? And so we wanted to break down each state election and give you a lowdown on what is going on and what is important in these elections and what the real movement on the ground is. And I've got a couple of excellent guests joining us. But before that, let me just give you the lay of the land for Rajasthan to begin with. 200 assembly seats up for grabs. November 25th is when the voting is happening. Single phase. Results will be out on the 3rd of December. This is a Congress versus BJP fight. The other parties are too small to really play a large part. Now, let's take a look at the history. In 2018, Congress won 99 seats, the BJP won 73 seats, and this tends to be a state that alternates between the two with anti-incumbency, right? The Congress then formed a government with the support of BSP MLAs and independents. And they had a fair amount of hiccuping around along the way because that government is formed largely with the help of Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot. Now, these two people have not seen eye to eye entirely in the last 5 years, and that is a large, part of the chink in Congress's armor. Now, the anti-incumbency is going to play a big part in it because Ashok Gehlot's government has come under a lot of flack for corruption. Now, interestingly, on the BJP side, the BJP doesn't have a very strong chief ministerial candidate or a local face, which seems sort of like the way the BJP prefers to go into elections. This is what they did in Karnataka, although not successfully. Now, here, the BJP has Vasundhara Raje. They're not using her. We understand in the posters that have come up for the election, Vasundhara Raje is actually being placed among a lot of the smaller faces. The big space belongs to the Prime Minister, who has led the campaign for the BJP. Now, in his speech, in his various speeches in Rajasthan, the Prime Minister has said that the Congress government is soft on grafters, that the Congress government is soft on corruption, that Rajasthan is effectively a lawless state, and that the Congress government has given a free hand to fanatic people in its appeasement policy. This is what the Prime Minister said. On the other hand, Ashok Gehlot, who's a strong local face, has come back. He has a fair amount of confidence right now in what he's doing. The Congress has a fair amount of confidence, given their victory in Karnataka, given the Bharat Jodo Yatra. So that seems like a campaign that is confident at this point. But for the fact that will Sachin Pilot's supporters support Ashok Gehlot? That's really the question for the Congress. A couple of things that are going to play an important part. Rajasthan has 22 lakh new voters in this election. And so what will be offering the younger voters? Now, there's been a massive problem of exam paper leaks, examinations being cancelled. The Rajasthan Public Service Commission examination was cancelled multiple times. And this is going to reflect badly on the Ashok Gehlot government. It's going to reflect badly specifically for its younger voters. Communalism is a big deal. You'll remember the Kanhaiya Lal murder case that happened where 48-year-old Kanhaiya Lal was bludgeoned and cleavered to death in his shop because of religion. And then, like I said, there's the problem of women's safety and there is the problem of corruption. There's something called a red diary that was allegedly found by a Rajasthan minister who said it was full of details of corruption, and that has sort of given ammunition to the BJP as well. So Ashok Gehlot's government has several reasons for anti-incumbency. This is a state that has gone between BJP and Congress several times. Where will it go this time? To help us answer that question, I have two experts joining me. Sharat Pradhan is a very senior journalist joining us out of Lucknow. Rajan, Mahan, senior journalist and political expert, specifically understanding Rajasthan better than anybody else, joined me as well. Gentlemen, good evening and thank you for joining us. Let me start with Rajan Mahan. Mr. Mahan, thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Faye.
Good evening. I want to talk to you about the religious split to begin with, right? Because while there seems to be on both sides an attempt to sort of woo the Muslim voter, neither party has really made an attempt to field Muslim candidates. And it's still creeping up, as we've gotten used to seeing in the political speeches. Help us understand how Rajasthan is placed right now on religious lines and caste lines in terms of voting for this year.
Well, That's a tough one to start with, but in any case, it's an issue that I think is extremely important. Uh, as far as the BJP's campaign is concerned in Rajasthan, I think one of their frontal sort of issues on which their attack is coming has been this entire issue of communal tensions or communal incidents, I would say, that have happened in the state in the last few years. And of course, it helps the BJP in two ways. One, they can target the Gehlot government on what they claim is a deteriorating law and order situation in the state. And secondly, of course, it helps them to play the Hindutva or polarizing politics that's almost like the hallmark of the BJP's politics for a very long time, ever since the late 80s and early 90s, when we saw the mobilization around the Ram Temple and Ayodhya, and of course, more aggressively, more unabashedly over the past decade, we've seen this politics being played out. So in Rajasthan, yes, they've made every effort possible to try and polarize voters. But Faye, I must tell you, I don't think the tactic is succeeding as much as the BJP would like it to. And as much as it has made it one of its central sort of planks for a return to power in Rajasthan. So we have from the very top, you have Prime Minister Modi to Home Minister Amit Shah to UP Chief Minister Adityanath coming and giving his brand of interpretation to every incident that has happened in Rajasthan. At the same time, the communal temperature in the state has not worsened uh, in any significant way. And much as the BJP leaders are even trying to make the Ram Temple issue a very, core part of their appeal to the voters, uh, Rajasthan essentially remains a state where, it's not so much the Hindu-Muslim issue that resonates with too many. It's more the caste dynamics that tends to dominate people's minds when they vote. I'm not saying that this issue will have no resonance at all I'm saying is that it will not have the kind of resonance that the BJP is hoping to achieve. And in terms of parties not fielding well, BJP is gone with not one candidate. The last time around, they had at least one Muslim candidate who was a cabinet minister at that time in the Vasundhara Raje government. And after a lot of lobbying from Vasundhara Raje, he was fielded. And guess where he was fielded? He was fielded against Sachin Pilot. So promptly he lost that election because it was not even his area where he was being fielded. This time around, the BJP has not bothered to even provide any explanations. And I must mention one specific issue. There is a seat in Ajmer district called the Masuda constituency. And guess what? The BJP, in its list, officially announced one party leader, a guy called Abhishek Singh, as its candidate for the Masuda constituency. And guess what happens? Within a few hours, there is some rumor mongering, and there is a kind of a trend that's created on Twitter and various other social media platforms. And some of his critics start alleging that he's not a Hindu, he's a Muslim. The guy keeps arguing that I am a Rawat Rajput. This actually connects with a specific community in Rajasthan called the Cheetah Marat. They live around, places and villages close to Ajmer. So they slam him and say he is not a Hindu but a Muslim. And guess what the BJP does? Within a few hours, on the very next day, they bring out a new list and they drop him and they bring in another face. And he's the one who's then taken over. So even just the rumor of one of their own leaders, who is very much a Hindu, but simply because he is starred by some of his critics or by some locals in that area that he is a Muslim, that he follows some Muslim practices, etc., he is promptly dropped like a hot brick by the BJP. I think even by their rather interesting, rather twisted sort of interpretations of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. I think this ticket switch in Masuda constituency really is a sort of a new sort of feat that the Sangh Parivar or the Saffron Brigade has achieved in Rajasthan. So, I mean, this should tell you how seriously they are pushing for this polarizing
Hmm.
agenda. Okay, but at the
But
same time,
you did say, Mr. Mann, that it's not working as much as they would like to. Could you tell me why you think that?
sorry, I didn't get the question.
You said that the polarization is on religious lines is not working in Rajasthan. Why do you think that?
I think because people here, there is a whole tradition. This is the land of Moinuddin Chishti. This is the land of Mira. This is the land of Baba Ramdev, a revered saint in Western Rajasthan, who's equally respected and equally revered by both communities. This is the land where we have the Manganyas singing. This is a Muslim community who sing the praises of their of Hindu deities and their Rajput patrons, etc., etc. For centuries, there is a composite culture. The Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb that all of us for years uh, have respected, have
Yeah.
have thought is the defining sort of feature of India's society and culture. That culture is still pretty strong. I can mention another seat in Western Rajasthan. Uh, this is the Pokhran seat, by the way, the famous Pokhran blast where we had. Uh, in that seat, there is a Muslim religious leader who is a minister in the Gehlot cabinet, and he's being opposed by a Hindu Mahan. And yet, the discussion, the debates, the local sort of flavor that's coming out of that
Right.
place is in no way a very divisive sort of agenda. So you have Hindu castes who will definitely vote for the Muslim religious personality, and you may well have a few Muslims also helping this BJP Sant. So, in that sense, I think Rajasthan, of all the Hindi belts states, is peculiarly placed because of its very, very strong traditions of a composite culture. And I think that is what prevents the BJP from, for instance, being able to generate the kind of polarizing sentiments that they have been able to generate, say, in a state like Sharat state, Uttar Pradesh. So
Mhm.
Rajasthan is not exactly the same case. They may not find as great a resonance of this polarizing theme in Rajasthan as they found in many other places. And of course, one thought that after Karnataka, the BJP was going to learn a lesson, but clearly it seems that they think that in the Hindi belt they can get away with it, and maybe they can, this polarizing thing. We'll get to know on the 3rd of December how
Well,
well it
Yeah.
resonated.
Mr.
But
Mr. Pradhan,
honestly, I think it's caste which is a much stronger dynamic in Rajasthan than it is.
we'll come back to caste, but Mr. Pradhan, Rajasthan
yeah.
is not Uttar Pradesh. So first time I do agree with.
Thankfully, thankfully,
Yes, mercifully for Rajasthan.
possibly.
No, but I
Yeah.
want to address this, and this is something that the BJP tried in Karnataka didn't really work out, which is to not have a chief ministerial face or a local leader, and to lead with the prime minister's campaign, which is what they've done in Rajasthan again. As opposed to the Congress, it seems to have, at least in Rajasthan, very strong local leaders. Mr. Pradhan, do you think this will play off? Because there is a lot that the prime minister has to talk about right now. Within the things that the central government has done. The central government has given free ration. There is the Ujjwala Yojana. They've done a lot in terms of the Awas Yojana. They've built houses. Is that enough? Do you think to sway the voters in Rajasthan?
Well, first of all, the manner in which they have made it a Modi versus Gehlot fight, it is the BJP which has made it. And that helped them to further their campaign with all the mainstream TV channels harping on this, comparing Gehlot with Modi, and every time talking of 24 rather than about 2020. the ongoing state election. You remember, I have a hunch that they have already seemed to be quite crestfallen. As Amit Shah, every time he went there, I think 3 times I have heard 3 of his speeches in which he has said that, well, this doesn't matter. 24 में तो मोदी ही बनेगा. So, which shows that they seem to have already, I mean, that speaks of the lack of confidence they have. Initially, Modi is turned into some kind of a demigod for them. And today, Modi is BJP, BJP is Modi, Modi is India. You don't be surprised if tomorrow it's called Namo India or something. So, which is why they think that his name is enough, and he probably, at least he thinks, if not the BJP, BJP walas can't speak. So that's the reason everywhere he is being projected. Even in Madhya Pradesh, the same story. In Chhattisgarh, is the same story. So this is either it is an overconfidence. Overconfidence invariably reflects lack of confidence. So which is what they are doing, and all this a campaign around this man Kanhaiya Lal's murder, the brutal killing by a Muslim terrorist. That is being repeated again and again and again by all these people, Yogi Adityanath, Modi, and Amit Shah. With little do they, I don't know how much has Gehlot and company been able to counter that, because it's very simple. Gehlot got the man arrested within 24 hours. The case was taken over by NIA, which has been sitting over the case, this whole case, and even the charge sheet is not filed. This is for Gehlot and Congress people to highlight and let the people know, if anyone if anyone is responsible for the further inaction, is the BJP, because NI is controlled by Modi. So, and on the other hand, he is busy accusing Gehlot of this terror act. And so this is, the BJP's problem advantage is that they get over with a lot of lies. They believe in bombardment of lies, and RSS is an expert in that.
No,
And with all the TV channels on their side, they make it, when they bombard you with lies, the TV channels make you believe the lies to be true.
But at the end of the day, in an election, does the average voter understand the difference between NIA and state police, and who's actually doing their job and who's not doing their job? And that actually, I believe, sort of plays out in an election. But that brings me, when we're talking about crime and levels of crime, that brings me to my next question, and that was going to be about crime against women. Mr. Mahan, what we'll all remember is when the Manipur issue had come out, where those 2 women were abused on camera. That video went viral. It was a terrible time in our country. The BJP retorted by pointing out Rajasthan at every turn, saying, Rajasthan, look at Rajasthan, look at Rajasthan, look at Rajasthan, look at Rajasthan. If we look at the numbers, the NCRB, the crime record numbers, show that Rajasthan has seen a 17% spike in the number of rape cases registered. And for the year 2021 was unfortunately worse than Uttar Pradesh in the number of crimes registered against women. Now, we understand from some analysts that this will actually be a poll issue of not being able to offer safety to the women of Rajasthan will play against the Ashok Gehlot government. Do you agree that that is going to be an issue for the Gehlot government to tackle at this election?
Faye, I mean, in a certain sense, yes. But to be fair to the Congress and the Gehlot government here, you need to keep some perspective when all of these issues are being discussed. See, the point is, no society in no age, in no country has been able to prevent crimes, right? Crimes are happening, they will happen. The question is, how does a government or a system react once a crime has happened? So yes, we need to have greater awareness. We need to have greater sort of, mechanisms in place so that those who are tempted to go in for any kinds of horrific crimes are, in some senses, prevented. But having said that, the point is that, can the Gehlot government be faulted on the manner in which they've tackled, whether it's women's issues or even Kanhaiya Lal, as Sharat was mentioning? So not 24 hours, as Sharat said. Actually, within 5 hours, the Gehlot government had nabbed the criminals. They're trying to respond and highlight that the two Muslim men who beheaded that helpless tailor were actually had some links with local BJP leaders in Udaipur. But these are things that are being swept under the carpet because,
Right.
as Sharad was rightly saying, much of the mainstream media is a complete takeover, and it's almost a very, if I may be permitted to use that word, it's almost a shameless collapse
Absolutely.
in front of those who are now wielding power in this country, and the relevant questions are not being asked. So the question is, yes, a large number of women's atrocities happen in Rajasthan. They may be number one, etc., etc. Granted, but there are two arguments that the Gehlot government and the Congress has been coming up. One, that they've made it mandatory for every thana to ensure that if a woman or anybody comes in, the case needs to be registered immediately. Therefore, the registration of crimes is not something which is a feat or an achievement. In many states, whether it's Uttar Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh, there are
Yeah.
many vulnerable sections, from Dalits, from women to Adivasis, etc. You hear of horrific stories where they kept complaining for a long time and nobody was willing to even register an FIR on the issue. So one is this argument that I think to some extent it has a resonance. The other is that when they are tackling women's issues, are they being proactive in providing justice? Yes, they have been. And I must tell you that it's very selective, this whole targeting. I'll give you a specific example. They keep picking up gang rapes, but they very conveniently forget one gang rape that happened in Jodhpur, which is the chief minister's constituency, and I'll bring that to light. So about 3 months ago, there was a horrific case where a young boy and girl who were in a relationship took a lift from a group of two or three guys who were sitting in a car. Those guys took them to the Jodhpur University campus, and then the girl was brutally gang raped. Then comes the real twist. So, who were these guys? As soon as the girl came into consciousness, she in fact narrated the names. The various, CCTV cameras, etc., provided some footage about who the guys were. And guess who were the guys? The guys turned out to be three ABVP students, and one of them was actually planning to
Oh,
fight the student election in the university. The BJP is gone completely silent. There is pin drop silence on that issue, on that specific atrocity. They're not willing to talk at all. Just as they're not willing to talk about the horrific double murder of two Muslim men in February this year, who
right,
were
right.
hijacked by a bunch of cow vigilantes,
Vigilante.
taken away to Haryana, and then they were, while they were alive, they were set on fire, and their car, or rather their jeep, was set on fire. They would well have got away, but for the fact that the Rajasthan police by then had reached there, and the Bolero vehicle had some markings etched through which they could identify that this is the Bolero that the Muslim men who had gone missing from Bharatpur, it was their Bolero. And that's how that whole case came to. The BJP doesn't utter a word on that case. They have everything to say about Kanhaiya Lal, but it's so selective. You don't have anything to say about the Bharatpur men being burnt alive, and you have nothing to say about the ABVP boys who were involved in that horrific gang rape. So what I'm saying is that you can't be selective, and I think people will gradually learn to cope with all this. But in the electoral fray, of course, it's very easy when you pick out stray cases and you turn them into big deal, and then the media, of course, makes it out into a far greater big deal. And I mean, I'm sorry, but I do think that a large section of India's media now represents perhaps one of the gravest threats to India's democracy. I'm sorry to say this, Faye, but that's how I feel now.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let me take it back to the elections. Unfortunately, the other challenge, like I was saying at the beginning, for the Congress party is infighting that we've seen play out between Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot. Is that behind them? Has it damaged grassroots organizations? And is it likely that Sachin Pilot supporters are still feeling sidelined? And so might want to, there were some analysts who said they might want to punish Ashok Gehlot for it and vote against him. Mr. Pradhan?
Well, this was the case until a few months back. Much of this has it doesn't happen anymore, and it is very evident now. And from the reports that I get from my journalist colleagues sitting in different parts of Rajasthan is, and I myself went to a few places, that now they have sunk their differences. Yes, there was utter bitterness between the two of them, wouldn't see eye to eye, but now they have decided, or they have been cajoled into, signing truce. It is Rahul Gandhi is believed to have played a major role in that, and Kharge. And eventually, as you must have seen, BJP was trying to use this and play it up because they didn't have anything else to say. So yesterday only, Modi went about screaming his lungs out about how Rajesh Pilot was humiliated by the Congress. That's what he said, and he said, "Ki now earlier it was Rahul's father who was humiliating him, and now it is and Sonia Gandhi who had humiliated him, and now the son is being humiliated by this party." So the idea was to tell the Gujar community to which Pilot belongs that look here, the Congress is anti all of you. So, and interestingly and very significantly, this chap Sachin gave a retort to that, and he said, "Ki this is BJP." He's told the BJP to lay off. He said, "Ki you have nothing to do with our affairs, and I know that my father was never humiliated by any Congress leader, and this is a false campaign." So it is not. I don't think the way he said you could see that there was passion in was his retort, and there is no reason. It's only BJP trying to play these things up because they, other than as you said, you asked me earlier about the welfare. They ultimately Modi by going on harping on the 85 crore people giving rations to free rations to 85 crore people, he's also sending the message that look here, then he's contradicting himself that India has grown, India is a great economy. If you are 85 crore people living below the poverty line, if you're giving them food, obviously they must be below the poverty line. Then how the hell does it become a great economy? So Modi's lies are gradually getting exposed by his own doings, by his own statements, contradictory statements. So I have this, of course, and initially when they sidelined Vasundhara, that was no BJP would never talk about that. There was so much of infighting within the BJP, much more infighting, or as much infighting at least as it used to be in the Congress, and in the BJP it continues, and it was a conflict between Vasundhara and Modi himself. It was only towards the end when he realized that they wouldn't do without Vasundhara that they took Vasundhara on board. But even after that, did you notice that? I'm sure Rajan would bear out with that this Vasundhara was not seen at most of Modi's rallies. She
Yeah.
confined herself to her constituency or to
So
the
do you
constituencies where
believe,
her people were.
Mr. Pradhan, that Vasundhara Raje's supporters will feel slighted by the way she's being placed on the posters and the way she has been sidelined?
Certainly, I'm sure. And for all they are the ones. There is more bitterness within the BJP now than it remains within in the Congress. Congress, as I said, they have signed truce, and they are all together. And the whole thing is being led by Gehlot, and Sachin is very much on his side because Sachin has kind of politics he has also played. At the end of the day, he's realized that it can't work, and it didn't work when he tried to take away some people who eventually ditched him to the BJP. When those after that coming back, obviously Sachin has no scope of continuing with his with allowing any kind of infighting. He has to show to the people, and I think he has done it very skillfully. That
Yeah.
today Congress stands united far more than BJP is united. And Vasundhara, the way they have treated Vasundhara is going to cost the BJP dear.
Okay, so I want to read out a couple of our, audience questions right now. Aman Peshawari has asked, has the Congress damaged its chances by the very public fight and name calling between Pilot and Gehlot? And Mr. Pradhan answered that question, but I'll also take that question, Naman, to Mr. Rajan in a bit. We also have a couple of there's Kesaru who says that, oh, your guests got it wrong for Karnataka. So I just want to point out that my guests are senior journalists, and the idea is to analyze what is going on the ground and not predict an election. So don't expect predictions from us. It's not what we do.
We are not poll pundits. We are not poll pundits.
Not poll pundits.
For that, they have to go to some mainstream news channel.
The idea is to understand what's
Where
going on.
they have astrologers sitting on the on the panel.
I mean, if you consider what has happened with poll coverage in a lot of mainstream channels, it would make your eyes water. Because at one point, poll coverage was a very specific thing that psephologists used to do. It's not that specific thing anymore.
Anymore.
Yes, and we've got Raja Shanky who said, can the Congress be equal to Bhimami plus Muslim vote plus Jat vote, and the BJP is equal to Rajput plus Brahmin plus Jat? Is that a possible breakup of what you're looking at? And would you risk it, Mr. Mahan? The 200 seats, which way between the BJP and the Congress? What are you expecting?
Oh, as Sharat said, I'm no sort of poll. I'm no astrologer. I can't be a poll pundit in that sense. My own sense is slightly different from Sharat, for instance, on that whole Goodar Vote issue. It's not as rosy as Sharat was making it out.
Okay.
Yes, they've had a truce. Yes, there is peace prevailing at the moment. But it's and umpteen times, almost like a mantra, in the last few months, Sachin Pilot has been saying, I want to forgive, forget, and move forward, etc., etc. But Sachin and leaders in their meetings and in their cloistered, sort of air-conditioned gatherings can have that kind of an approach. But how much of it will actually get translated onto the ground is something different, because there are many sections within the Gujars who are quite upset about the way Sachin has been treated and sidelined, and therefore many of them are almost itching to sort of teach a lesson to the Congress. So it's not as rosy as it seems, but I would tend to agree with Sharad. The infighting in the Congress was sort of confined to two people. In the BJP, it was like a free for all. So there was Vasundhara on one side, and there was a host of RSS backed leaders who have been, whose ambitions have been getting fired with each passing month. And each one of them fancies himself to be the next chief minister of Rajasthan. And there's at least half a dozen that I can rattle off. I don't know whether you'd like the names, but I can give them. But, there's no need. Vasundhara being sidelined, I think the fact that they sidelined her in the first list, but by the time they brought out the second list of candidates, a large number of Vasundhara loyalists were being accommodated, was a clear signal that the BJP, because there were massive revolts that broke out after the first list of 41 candidates that the BJP announced, and that included 7 MPs. Okay, 7 sitting MPs were being turned into MLA aspirants, MLA candidates by the BJP, and there were revolts against a large section of those MPs also. And in many places, it were Vasundhara loyalists and people who were close to Vasundhara and a part of her kind of camp who were breaking out. So if that had persisted, the BJP was virtually looking at a mutiny across Rajasthan. They've contained it. Vasundhara has been quiet. Most of the others have been quiet. But this is, both the parties have a problem. The BJP much more severely, because they have more than nearly 24 rebel candidates who are still standing in the fray. They were able to get some to withdraw, but there's a large section. For instance, I can tell you there's a seat in Chittorgarh where the son-in-law of former vice president and former 3-time chief minister of Rajasthan, Bhairav Singh Shekhawat, his son-in-law was first not given a ticket in Jaipur, And then he was to try and accommodate Diya Kumari, who seems to be a bit of a favorite these days with the BJP's top brass. And Narpat then was shifted away. He was a three-time sitting MLA. He was shifted away to Chittorgarh. And guess what? They dropped the two-time sitting MLA there. So they are facing a massive problem in Chittorgarh seat because the guy that they dropped has become a rebel independent candidate, and he is drawing far greater traction than the official BJP candidate from whatever reports we are getting. So both, and even in the Congress, there is a large chunk of rebel candidates who are standing. And how those will play out is going to be an interesting dimension of this election. As far as the Gujjar vote, what were the combinations that your reader has suggested? The Rajputs and Brahmins on one side, along with for the BJP, for the Congress, which groups is he suggesting?
So he was suggesting the Bhimami, the Muslim vote, and the Jat vote for the Congress, whereas the Brahmin vote and the Rajput vote for the BJP.
So Dalit, Muslim, and Gujjar.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of basic strong castes voting for different parties, indeed, one would tend to go, except that the Jat vote is not going in any very significant way to the BJP. Uh, uh, just as there's a doubt about how much of the Jat vote is going to go to the BJP, similarly, there is some doubt about, the Gujjar vote was a critical vote for the Congress last time around. And I must mention that there is the eastern part of Rajasthan. In East Rajasthan is where the Congress had really I mean, it had really gone into a major triumph in the last election. It is here that they got a decisive edge on the BJP. In Mewar in South Rajasthan, in Marwar in Western Rajasthan, and various other parts. It was still a neck and neck battle, but it's in Eastern Rajasthan that the Congress had really done well. And
Yeah.
it is there that the Gujjar vote is in many ways concentrated. It is there that the Sachin pilot impact had come in the biggest way. To give you just one concrete example about the Gujjar vote, in the last election, there were as many as 8 Congress Gujjar leaders who were victorious. And in the BJP, not one single Gujjar candidate that they raised could win the election. Will it be as bad for the BJP this time? I have my doubts. Will it be that good for the Congress? I don't think it might bear. But of course, who knows? The guess is that there will be some damage to the Congress as far as the Gujjar vote is concerned.
Right.
But at the same time, the Meena vote, the Gujjars and the Meenas, a bit like the Jats and the Rajputs, have been traditional rivals. And the Meenas may well compensate for a bit of the loss that they may face on the Gujjar front. But which is why I tell you, it's the caste dynamic which is so fascinating and makes the
Okay.
Rajasthan election much more complex than this polarized Hindu versus Muslim, and then all Hindus are on one side and the Muslims are kind of cornered into one little corner. No, it's not going to happen in Rajasthan. That's what makes this election a tight battle, a fascinating battle, a fierce battle, and yet a battle that today the campaigning has got over. And guess what? The last day of election was actually devoted just to the Gujjar vote. The Prime Minister, in his speech, latched on. I mean, yesterday he had dragged in Rajesh Pilot and claimed that Sachin was being victimized by the Congress High Command because his father had once sort of challenged the Gandhi family and challenged the Congress High Command. Today, Gehlot and Sachin Pilot both have, hit out at the Prime Minister for trying to meddle into this issue, which is concerned with their party. And but this has not limited the Prime Minister in any way. He went today into a different tangent and he brought out all the slurs and all the name calling that Mr. Gehlot had done in the last few years. So, from Nikamma and Nakara to Gaddar for Sachin Pilot was all brought out. A, to target the Congress in fighting, and B, to try and woo that 8% Gujjar vote, which matters a lot on nearly 40 seats of East and Central Rajasthan. So essentially, once again, despite all that, and it is very interesting, Faye, It's
Yeah.
not the polarized narrative that the Prime Minister ended with today. It is the Goodar vote and the attempt to woo the Gujars that was dominant in his speech today. But what was really important is not just that Sachin has defended the Congress and the Gandhi
Mm.
family strongly, but also Ashok Gehlot came out and spoke about something that the Gujars need to forever remember, which is that when the Gujarat agitation took such a violent turn in 2007-8, it was a BJP government led by Vasundhara Raje, which had indulged in pretty much massive firing. Nearly 2 dozen incidents of police firing had happened. More than 70 Gujars had died. And therefore, Gehlot brought that memory back and told the Gujars, don't get swayed by all the propaganda that these Gujarat leaders are coming, making in Rajasthan. He made an emotional pitch on the last day about मैं राजस्थान का हूँ, मैं था सो दूर नहीं था. I'm not going anywhere. You'll not see some of these leaders again for the next 5 years. I'm here. I'm from your Rajasthan. Give me another chance that I can serve you even more, even better in the next 5 years. So, I mean, it's very interesting. And what I found fascinating was that today, the polarization pitch was gone. Yes, there was Amit Shah and Yogi Adityanath in some corners of Rajasthan still trying to build on that theme. But the fact that it's not getting the kind of resonance that the BJP was hoping is clear from the Prime Minister's final speech on this campaign. Faye.
My last question, and this is a question that Aman has also asked in the chat window, is that if the Gujar vote is so key, would the Congress be better off having fielded Sachin Pilot as a chief ministerial candidate? Would that have also handled any of the anti-incumbency that Gehlot is facing right now? Mr. Pradhan, you first, and then Mr. Pradhan.
Well, I don't think that could have helped because there is a strong chunk of voters. That the as Rajan pointed out, the Jats and the Gujars don't get along. They are at loggerheads. So at the same time, Congress wouldn't want to annoy the Jats, and also I think it's not just the Jats, even the other OBCs are not don't go very well with the Gujars if I'm not wrong, Rajan, and so that wouldn't have worked. And
Who
in any
knows?
case, the Congress cadres would have really not taken it well if Sachin was, because this kind of things Sachin did in the beginning, and the way he betrayed the Congress, the way he virtually fell into BJP's lap. He tried to wean away some MLAs and eventually failed in that when it came to brass tacks. So that wouldn't have gone well at all with the Congress party, and it was a sure shot. Then, another thing which we are all overlooking is the kind of welfare schemes. If Modi talks of welfareism, he has a counter. There is no counter to what Gehlot has done. Gehlot
Mm.
is announced cylinders. If Modi is giving those cylinders under Ujjwala scheme, he is offering cylinders at 400 rupees. Under the Ujjwala scheme, once you get free, and after that, the cylinders, you see the kind of inventories you have seen with the gas cylinders is condemnable because people are not able to buy, and at the price they are selling. Then the insurance, health insurance, it's the most unique thing in the country. What Gehlot has done, any kind of treatment up to any level, any person gets free treatment, which is unbelievable, which is incredible. So these are factors which are also going to play. Then the old pension scheme, that could be a game changer. It has worked in Karnataka, it worked in Himachal.
Mm.
So that's despite the anti-incumbency, all right, on various issues, but at the same time, I think when you weigh the pro and con, it might tilt. It's really a tough call, particularly ever since Vasundhara has been taken back on board. Otherwise, there was no scope for the BJP to even think of uh, changing the pattern. But in
Yeah.
this case, it may be a tough call, a tough fight. But at the end, I still feel that Congress continues to have an edge.
All right. I'm going to leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much for helping us break this down. I do hope we can have another conversation once we know the results on the 3rd of December to sort of, analyze those movements and basically see how Rajasthan does in fact vote. For our audience, couple of things: like, share, subscribe to this video. We'll bring you breakdowns of every state going into the election results. 3rd of December is when the big results come out. A little later today at 9 o'clock, we have a special conversation with Faye D'Souza, who's come back from the US clutching his Emmy, India's first international Emmy for comedy. So we're having a conversation with him about everything that he's gone through as well. Do log in and watch that conversation. Also, download the Beetroot News app for news and updates. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice evening.